Meet Conan. He is a great kid born into a filthy rich family, but man, he got a pretty rough deal in life. Sure, he was blessed with some seriously insane magical abilities, but our hero was born totally blind. One day, though, he makes a massive decision. He figures, hey, if I wasn't given eyes, who cares? I've got magic, right? I'll just use it to make my own. So, the big question is, will Conan's crazy dream actually come true? Is he ever going to get to see this gorgeous world for himself? Let's dive in and find out. The story kicks off with a shot of this absolutely stunning garden, but right after that, our main guy, Conan, asks what it actually means to see. It hits hard because being blind, he has zero concept of it. His dad steps in and explains that seeing is all about taking in the colors and shapes of the world. Then he tells Conan something important. He needs to be proud of himself. Why? Because his blindness is actually the hero's scar, a legendary mark passed down from the holy knight Julian. But off to the side, we catch a maid whispering to someone else. She is saying that even if it is this glorious hero's scar, it doesn't change the fact that the poor kid is stuck in the dark. Unfortunately, Conan overhears the whole thing. After that little reality check, one of the maids escorts Conan out. Now here is a cool detail. Conan was actually born with a water crest. That is a huge deal because it means he can use magic, which definitely isn't something just anyone in this world can pull off. Next up, we meet his tutor. Her name is Jenny, and she is the one in charge of teaching him the ropes of magic from here on out. Conan gets straight to work and manages to conjure up a tiny ball of water. Jenny is pretty impressed and tells him he just created a water sphere about the exact size of an eyeball. The second she says the word eyeball, a light bulb goes off in Conan's head. It hits him. What if he could literally use his magic to craft his own working eyes? Cut to a bit later, and we see him grabbing some food. But even while he is eating, he is totally zoned out, kicking himself and wondering why on earth he didn't think of this genius idea way sooner. He snaps out of it for a second to ask his maid what is on the menu today, and she breaks down the meal for him. A little while after that, a woman named Lady Flora drops by. Her job is to read books out loud to him. Conan tells her that today, he wants to dive into the stories about the legendary holy knight Julian. He is super driven because he basically wants to soak up every single ounce of knowledge he can get his hands on. Through the story, we find out that way, back in the day, there was this absolutely brutal all-out war between the demon lord and the heroes. After a grueling battle, Holy Knight Julian finally took down the demon lord, but it cost him one arm and one leg in the process. Ever since that epic showdown, every kid born into the Hister bloodline comes into the world missing a body part. For some, it is an arm or a leg, but for Conan, it was his eyes. Kids born like this are actually believed to be reincarnations of the hero and are given the prestigious title of bearing the hero's scar. Fast forward a bit, and Conan is back on his grind, practicing his magic. He manages to multiply a single water ball into 4 separate ones. His maid is totally blown away and hypes up his crazy magical talent. But just a few seconds later, Conan collapses. It turns out he completely burned through his stamina. So, what is next for Conan? His main goal right now is to gain as much knowledge as possible and build up his stamina so he can handle stronger magic. He also realizes he needs to bulk up his physical strength. His maid, Iko, suggests he take up sword practice, and he totally agrees to give it a shot. Conan then thanks Iko for always taking such great care of him, which absolutely makes her day. In the next scene, we see Conan doing some sword practice with his new instructor, Oru. Right in the middle of it, Miss Jenny shows up because it is officially time for his magic lessons. She asks him if he wants to take a quick breather, but Conan brushes it off, saying he is perfectly fine. Once they get started, Miss Jenny is completely mind-blown, seeing how easily Conan pulls off the magic spell she just taught him in their last class. She thinks to herself that this kid has an absolute freakish talent for magic. Meanwhile, over at another palace, we catch up with Princess Malika. She has to go meet her fiancé today, which she is dreading because she really cannot stand the guy. But it is a direct order from the king, so she has no choice but to go. On her way there, she is lost in thought about how their marriage was arranged back when they were little kids for purely political reasons. Usually when they hang out, her fiancé is super depressed. He used to be helpless and could not do a single thing without someone holding his hand, and Melita really did not want to deal with that gloomy vibe again. But this time, when she meets up with Conan, it is a completely different story. His face is practically glowing. She is caught off guard and asks him why he seems so different. He tells her that he has fallen in love with magic. He then proceeds to completely wow Princess Malika by showing off his skills. After the mini-show, he holds out his hand and asks if she would like to listen to some stories with him today. Melita happily takes his hand, and the two of them head off to play. By the time she heads back home that evening, the princess is in an amazing mood. In the next scene, Conan is picking Lady Flora's brain, asking how he should act around Princess Malika so she will actually like him. We then cut back to Miss Jenny, who is still low-key, panicking about how naturally gifted this kid is. She realizes he is way more talented than she is, and will probably master everything she knows in no time. If that happens, she will be out of a job, which is a massive problem because tutoring Conan brings in some seriously big bucks. To save her sweet gig, Miss Jenny realizes she has to aggressively level up her own magic skills. The next day, Miss Jenny introduces Conan to something new, manipulating the actual shape of water. She conjures up 2 water spheres and tells Conan to touch them. When he does, he notices one is freezing cold and the other is hot. Miss Jenny explains that you can alter the different characteristics of water. Naturally, Conan picks up this new alteration technique with 0 effort. Miss Jenny is internally screaming, thinking, "It took me an entire night to figure that out, and he just nailed it in a split second." Later that night, Conan is still hyper-focused on his water shape and alteration spells. He is pushing himself to improve as fast as possible so he can finally see the world with his own eyes. The following morning, he uses his magic to heat up some water so Iko can make tea. Watching him, Iko casually mentions that being able to use magic is basically a divine miracle. Hearing that word, something just clicks in Conan's brain. Iko pinches his cheeks and asks, "What just got into you?" The water spills as he realizes that, for a brief second, he actually sensed colors through his magic. With Iko's help, he starts practicing by recognizing green and red apples. Even though he is completely blind, his magic is now allowing him to sense the world around him. Iko is absolutely thrilled for him and runs to tell his dad the good news. His dad is over the moon finding out his son can sense colors just by touching things. We also find out that Conan has been living in a separate house with Iko because he didn't want his condition to be a burden on his family. Now that he is making progress, his dad tells Iko it is time for them to move back into the main house. But Iko flat out refuses. She insists on staying right by Master Conan's side so she can watch him hustle for his dreams every single day. Before Miss Jenny arrives for his next lesson, Conan manages to use his magic to create a perfectly red-colored water sphere. But right at that moment, his family walks in. Hearing their voices breaks his concentration, and the water sphere pops, splashing water all over them. His mom takes one look at him doing magic and straight up faints from the shock. His dad ends up scolding Conan for the mess and docks Iko half her pay for 3 months as a penalty. Hearing she is losing that much cash, Iko practically faints too. Miss Jenny watches this whole circus from a distance and thinks, this kid is learning way too fast. I'm going to run out of material. But then it hits her. Wait a minute. If he is this insanely talented, he might actually have a shot at claiming the ultimate title, the Stellar Sorcerer. A little time jump happens, and Conan is now 9 years old. Seeing how much he has grown, his dad decides it is officially time to enroll him in school. He pulls Conan's older brother, Ishu, aside to tell him the plan. Since Conan has barely ever stepped foot outside their estate, his dad wants Ishu to tag along and watch his back. Back when they were little kids, Ishu took Conan out to play, and Conan ended up slipping on the stairs and taking a bad fall. Ishu wasn't able to catch him back then, but today he makes a hard promise to himself that he is going to protect and support his little brother, no matter what. Meanwhile, we see Conan actively reading a book by feeling the physical shapes of the words. He is currently studying hydromancy, which is basically a water-based form of fortune-telling. Hearing this, Iko playfully teases him, asking, "Oh, really? So can you look into the future and tell me who my husband is going to be?" Conan just smiles and says, "Well, you are a really great girl." "Honestly, anyone would be lucky to marry you," Conan says. "If I wasn't the son of a marquis, I'd make you my wife in a heartbeat." For context, Iko is actually 10 years older than Conan. Later on, we see Conan hanging out and studying with Lady Flora. Watching him, she thinks to herself about what a true gentleman he is and how he is such a smooth conversationalist. He knows exactly what to say and even throws a few compliments her way. So yeah, our boy definitely knows how to flirt. That night, Conan and Iko head over to meet his dad. Since it is pretty chilly out, Conan conjures up a warm water sphere to act as a little space heater, which Iko really appreciates. But as they are walking, Conan gets anxious and asks, "What does my dad actually want to talk to me about? Is he going to chew me out again for my past mistakes?" Iko reassures him, saying she highly doubts that. When they get to the main house, the butler, Balin, welcomes them in. As Conan walks in to see his dad, his older brother Ishu spots him. Ishu is taken aback seeing Conan walking around so effortlessly without needing anyone to guide him. He realizes right then that his little brother has already changed so much. After that, the two brothers sit down with their parents, and Conan's dad gets straight to the point. "Are you interested in going to school?" Conan shoots the idea down immediately, saying he has something way more important to focus on right now. His dad tells him to reconsider, pointing out that he would gain a ton of knowledge and that they even pulled some strings to get him special permission to attend. Things start to get a little heated, and they start bickering. Conan accuses his dad of just holding a grudge about what happened last time, but his dad insists that has nothing to do with it. Finally, his dad lays it all out. "Look, Conan, think about Princess Melissa. If you refuse to attend the Noble Academy, high society is going to look down on her." Hearing that, Conan immediately caves and agrees to go. His dad clarifies that he doesn't have to be stuck in a classroom for years. He just needs to pass the advancement exam, and the second he does, he will get his graduation certificate. And get this, Conan is actually going to take this exam alongside Ishu and Princess Malika, since those two are about to graduate soon anyway. After the decision is made, we see his mom getting straight to work, handling all the arrangements for his enrollment. Meanwhile, his dad pulls Ishu aside for a serious talk. He warns Ishu that there will be kids from other noble families at the academy who might try to give Conan and Princess Malika a hard time, so it is on him to watch their backs. The next day, when Malika finds out Conan is going to school with them, she is beyond thrilled. Since Conan has zero clue what school is actually like, Princess Malika takes it upon herself to give him the full rundown. But Conan is a little stressed about the social dynamics. He figures that when all the guys who have a crush on Princess Malika see him hanging out with her, they are going to be insanely jealous. Malika casually confirms this, mentioning that she has enough admirers to count on all 10 fingers. Cut to the next scene, and Conan is totally prepped and ready to head to school. He is looking incredibly sharp and charming. Ishu takes one look at him and is just completely dumbfounded, wondering when his little brother became so extra. After that, Conan and his brother hit the road to head to the academy. And guys, get this. Conan uses his magic to coat the carriage wheels in a thin layer of water, so the ride is completely smooth, basically acting like a set of shock absorbers. Ishu looks over and asks, "Are you nervous? This is the farthest you have ever been from home." Conan shakes his head. "Not really, but I know I always end up causing a lot of trouble for you. I used to be pretty weak, but I've bulked up and gotten stronger now." Ishu is genuinely happy to see just how much his little brother has grown up. But right after that sweet moment, Conan gets a little cocky, flashing a bit of newfound overconfidence. A short while later, they pull up to the academy. The second they step out of the carriage, Princess Melissa is right there waiting to welcome them. Conan immediately turns on the charm, saying, "Well, My day is already off to a fantastic start since I got to hear your sweet voice right early in the morning. Look at our boy flirting. The princess blushes and tells him he is looking really sharp today. Conan just grins and replies, I got all dressed up specially for you. Ishu is standing right there, completely speechless at his little brother's ridiculous riz, but honestly, Conan can sense the presence of a ton of people watching them. He turns to the princess and asks, Would you do me the honor of holding my hand and giving me the grand tour of the school today? Malika happily grabs his hand. Next up, we are introduced to one of the Academy's professors, Professor Cast, who is completely stressing out. She is super nervous because the Marquis's second son, the kid born with the hero's scar, is starting school today. She had heard a bunch of rumors that he was incredibly fragile and timid, but then Conan walks in. Professor Cast takes one look at how handsome and put together he is and is instantly impressed. She introduces herself and explains that she is going to be his personal guide for the day. Ishu and Malika tell the professor, We are leaving Conan in your care. Please look after him, before heading off to their own classes. Meanwhile, a bunch of other students are totally eavesdropping and watching Conan from the windows. From their gossip, we find out that it has been exactly 100 years since anyone was born with the hero's scar. Because of that, Conan is basically getting VIP treatment and special backing directly from the king. But not everyone is thrilled about it. One guy in the crowd is practically fuming. It is Princess Malika's older brother, Prince Line, surrounded by his annoying little posse of sidekicks. Cut back to Professor Cast and Conan sitting in a classroom where we finally get the lowdown on this advancement exam. It turns out the test is broken down into 5 separate sections. Once you pass all 5, you instantly score your graduation certificate. Usually, students get a decent break between each test, but Conan's exams are being fast-tracked back to back. Those orders came straight from the top, meaning the king and the marquis set it up this way. Professor Cast hands Conan his exam papers and tells him to just ask if he gets stuck on anything. Fast forward a bit, and we see the professor grading his test. She is absolutely floored when she realizes he nailed every single question flawlessly. After crushing his exam, Conan heads down to the cafeteria to grab some lunch with Princess Malika. But right in the middle of the hallway, Prince Line and his goons block their path. Things are clearly about to go south, but right on cue, Ishu steps up to back his brother. Prince Line glares at Melissa and says, I need to have a little private chat with this loser. When Ishu steps between them, the prince snaps, Why are you getting in the middle of this, Ishu? But while this whole standoff is happening, Conan low-key uses his magic. He secretly pulls some moisture from the air and gathers a pool of water right on the front of Prince Line's pants. The next second, everyone starts bursting out laughing, pointing and joking that the prince just peed his pants. Ishu and Malika instantly know Conan is the mastermind behind the prank. Totally humiliated, Prince Line books it out of there as fast as he can. Conan just plays completely dumb and casually says, All right, let's go get some food. I am craving a hamburger. Over lunch, we get some backstory. Prince Line is actually Malika's older brother by exactly 1 year, officially known as the 6th Prince Line Julian colony. Conan is genuinely confused about why her own older brother would treat her like garbage. He looks over at Ishu and mentions how incredibly lucky he is to have a big brother who actually cares about him. Meanwhile, Ishu is just sitting there internally panicking, wondering how on earth he is going to explain this whole pants-wetting incident to their dad. Conan, on the other hand, is just happily chowing down on his food without a care in the world. Ishu is silently praying that they can just graduate without kicking off a literal war. Meanwhile, in another part of the school, Prince Line is absolutely seething with rage. Conan finally asks, Why was Prince Line acting so aggressive toward me? Malika sighs and explains, Honestly, it is probably because of me. He is the 6th prince, and I am the 9th princess, so in the royal hierarchy, I am technically below him. But because I am engaged to you, a guy born with the hero's scar who is also a powerful sorcerer, my status within the royal family is skyrocketing. My brother is incredibly jealous that my rank is about to shoot right past his. Conan pauses and says, Oh man, Then I kind of did him dirty. I should probably go apologize. But Malika and Ishu both immediately shut that down, flat out telling him absolutely not. Cut to the next scene, and we are back to Conan practicing his magic with Miss Jenny. This time, Conan takes it to the next level and uses his magic to completely freeze a water sphere, turning it solid into ice. Miss Jenny praises him, saying, "Awesome job. You are really leveling up your magic skills." We then cut back to the academy. As Princess Melita walks up to meet Ishu and Conan, Conan puts on a little pout and says, "I am actually feeling a bit bummed out today. Since it is my last day at school, this is the last time I will ever get to hear your gorgeous voice." Malika just laughs and replies, "You are my fiancé. You can hear my voice literally whenever you want." After that, the three of them head into a packed classroom to take their final exam. We also get a quick flashback showing that during his previous test sessions, Conan actually spent a ton of time chatting up Professor Cast. They talked about everything from how she landed her teaching gig to all the juicy details of her love life. Hearing about this, Ishu and Melita just look at each other, totally bewildered, thinking, "Wait, what on earth were those two even talking about?" Right then, a group of students walks over and asks Princess Malika if she is going to introduce them. Conan takes the lead and introduces himself, saying, "Hey, I am Conan, Princess Malika's fiancé and Ishu's little brother." He then adds, "Honestly, it is really cool to see that Malika and my brother actually have friends here at school. I was starting to think they were total loners." Malika chimes in, explaining, "I actually asked everyone to give us a little space so we could spend some quality time together." Conan smiles and thanks the princess, saying, "I am genuinely just happy that you and my brother have such a solid squad here. I don't really have any friends myself, but it doesn't bother me much." Meanwhile, we cut over to Prince Line. One of his lackeys reminds him that it is time for the exam, but Line brushes it off, arrogant as ever, saying, "The professor can wait a few minutes." A little while later, right as the exam is about to kick off, Conan and Malika are sitting next to each other. Suddenly, Prince Line squeezes right in between them. We get a little context here. Nobody really respects Line. At the end of the day, he is just another prince in a long line of them, and he knows it. That insecurity is the main reason he walks around constantly ticked off. Conan totally throws him off, though. He reaches out, grabs Line's hand for a handshake, and introduces himself. Line snaps, "Let go of my hand right now." Conan just grins and says, "Come on, brother-in-law. I am your future family after all." Line glares at him and demands, "Who gave you permission to touch me?" Conan completely ignores the attitude and says, "Wow, you have a really deep, manly voice. Even without seeing you, I can just feel that you look incredibly rugged and handsome." The prince looks around, bewildered, asking, "Is this kid out of his mind?" But believe it or not, Prince Line is actually a little flattered. He is so taken aback by the sudden praise that he literally starts blushing. Conan smoothly wraps it up, saying, "Anyway, it is genuinely great to finally meet you, brother-in-law." Right after that, the exam officially begins. In the very next scene, the results are already in. The professor draws a giant flower on the chalkboard, signaling that every single student in the class passed the test. The whole room erupts in cheers. Princess Malika and Ishu are especially hyped because this means all three of them get to graduate together. After saying his goodbyes, Conan heads out to catch his ride home. But right before he leaves, he turns to Professor Cast and slickly asks, "So, what are your thoughts on my older brother?" The professor just shakes her head, thinking to herself, "What goes through this kid's mind?" Meanwhile, we catch a glimpse of Prince Line, and it turns out he is actually genuinely impressed by Conan now. The next day, Conan is back on his grind, practicing his magic. He takes a single sphere of water and effortlessly multiplies it into 10 separate orbs. Then, he decides to really show off his artistic side. He has gotten so insanely good at manipulating his magic that he reshapes the water into a perfectly detailed bird and makes it literally fly up into the sky. Watching this, Miss Jenny is absolutely dumbfounded. They take a quick break, and Miss Jenny sits him down. She looks at him seriously and says, "Since you are about to graduate, there is something I need to tell you today. And honestly, it might be a pretty big shock." Conan gasps playfully and asks, "Wait, don't tell me. Are you secretly the goddess of nights, and now you have to return to your home dimension?" Miss Jenny shakes her head and drops the truth bomb. "No, Conan. The truth is, I literally have nothing left to teach you. In fact, I have been out of material for a while now. I have already taught you every single thing I know, and you soaked it up way too fast. At this rate, you are going to completely surpass my magic skills in no time." Conan smiles warmly and says, "Miss Jenny, I am genuinely just so grateful that you managed to teach me even more than you actually knew yourself. Because of you, I have a whole new sense of hope for my life." Behind the scenes, Miss Jenny had been racking her brain, coming up with all sorts of random, tricky little exercises just to stretch out her lessons and keep her high-paying job a little bit longer. But then Conan completely misreads the situation and innocently asks, "Wait, is it because your salary is too low? Are you not getting paid enough? Is that why you're quitting on me?" Conan asks. Miss Jenny shakes her head. "No, that's not it at all. I literally just have nothing left to teach you. I can't do anything more to help you level up. Your magical abilities have totally outgrown mine." Conan pleads with her, saying he doesn't want her to leave and that he wants her to stay on as his teacher. As he's talking, he subconsciously conjures a bunch of animals made entirely out of water. Still, Miss Jenny stands her ground, insisting she really can't teach him anymore. As she walks away, she thinks to herself, "Conan seriously has the potential to become a cerulean sorcerer. God really blessed him with an insane amount of talent." Meanwhile, Iko breaks the news to Conan that Lady Flora has also handed in her resignation since he is graduating. Hearing this, Conan says, "I'll have to write her a letter to thank her for everything." Iko immediately jumps in. "Hey, if you're writing her a letter, ask her if she knows any tall, handsome-built guys who make good money, and tell her to send them my way." Conan is completely taken aback. "Wait, are you planning on leaving me too?" Iko sighs. "I don't want to leave you, but a girl's gotta go out and find her future husband eventually." Conan groans. "Man, what is even happening? Everybody is abandoning me." "I am definitely not asking her to find you a handsome guy. Sorry, not happening." Cut to the next scene, and the family is having dinner. His dad brings up the current situation. "According to Miss Jenny, we need to track down an expert sorcerer to handle the rest of your training." Ishu chimes in, mentioning he heard rumors at school about an extraordinarily powerful royal sorcerer named Zonlif. His mom asks, "Wait, Zonlif? I've heard of him too. He is supposed to be incredibly skilled." His dad quickly shuts the idea down, explaining that inviting a royal sorcerer to their home is basically impossible. Royal sorcerers report directly to the royal court, meaning only the king and top-tier officials have the authority to give them orders. Even getting a face-to-face meeting with one is ridiculously hard. Conan pitches a workaround. "How about this? Next time you head to the capital, I tag along. I'll meet this royal sorcerer, work some of my magic, and hustle my way into becoming his apprentice." Conan thinks his plan is flawless, but his dad is definitely not on board. However, Conan manages to get his mom on his side. She flashes his dad the classic puppy dog eyes, completely melting his resolve. Let's be real. Who could say no to a beautiful wife? Definitely not his dad. He caves and agrees to take Conan to the royal palace. Honestly, Ishu is the only guy in this entire family with a functioning brain. In the next scene at the royal palace, we see a royal sorcerer getting word that a highly talented kid wants to become an apprentice. We also find out this sorcerer is actually Princess Malika's older sister. Conan has officially caught her attention. Soon after, Conan and his dad are heading in for their meeting. They actually managed to score clearance because the royal sorcerers were genuinely intrigued by Conan's abilities. While they wait, Conan uses his magic to craft a cat entirely out of water. He has gotten so good that he is creating solid-looking objects now, whereas before, his water creations used to be completely transparent. He notices that his dad absolutely loves the cat. The catch? His dad can't actually own a real cat because his wife is strictly a dog person. So Conan casually suggests, why don't we just keep cats outside the mansion? According to Iko and Princess Malika, having outdoor cats is actually seen as a huge noble status symbol. His dad is completely sold on the idea. Right then, someone walks up to welcome them. It is the second princess, Rasha. She smiles and says, "Oh, so you must be my future brother-in-law. I am genuinely so happy to finally meet you. Malika talks about you all the time." She notices the cat and asks, "Oh, you brought a cat with you?" In a split second, Conan dispels his magic, turning the cat back into a puddle of water, which visibly breaks his dad's heart. Watching this effortless display, Rasha thinks to herself, "Wow, he is way more talented than I even expected." The plan is set. Princess Rasha is going to escort Conan to the Black Tower, while his dad goes off to have a meeting with the king. That means Conan will have to catch a ride home by himself later. Conan smoothly tells his dad, "Don't worry, I already booked a reservation for you at that restaurant where you first took Mom and confessed your love to her." As Princess Rasha leads him toward the Black Tower, Conan is chatting her ear off, having a great conversation about magic. Our boy definitely loves to talk. During the walk, we get a quick lore drop. The emperor has a grand total of 17 kids, 7 princes, and 10 princesses. Usually the throne automatically goes to the firstborn prince. But in the Julian Empire, the crown is actually awarded based on merit and achievements, not just birth order. Suddenly, Conan stops dead in his tracks. He can sense an absolutely massive, overwhelming amount of magical power radiating straight from the Black Tower. Since the Black Tower is basically the main hub where all the royal sorcerers live and work, that is exactly where they head. Next up, we see Conan coat the bottoms of his shoes with a super thin layer of water, letting him glide and slide forward effortlessly. Princess Rasha gives him a heads up, warning him not to say anything stupid that could get him into trouble. In response, Conan just casually coats her shoes with water too. The two of them start ice skating down the halls, just having an absolute blast. But their little joyride gets interrupted when a knight named Dario spots their antics and literally chases them down to put a stop to it. After that, Conan officially meets Blindness III, who is the Grandmaster of the Royal Sorcerers. The guy has an insane amount of magical power, which Conan can easily sense right off the bat. Blindness explains that sorcerers can have one of 7 different types of crests: fire, water, earth, wind, light, darkness, and null. On top of that, every single crest has 5 different ranks. We know Conan rocks a water crest with 2 ranks, and it turns out Princess Rasha is a 2-star sorcerer as well. Conan does some quick math in his head and figures that if his magical power is a single slice of cheese, Blindness' power is the entire wheel. The Grandmaster mentions he is actually a 4-star sorcerer. Conan then asks if a person's magic type affects their rank. Londi explains there is no solid proof of that, but at the end of the day, raw magical power is what matters most across the board. Now the real fun begins. The Grandmaster wants to put Conan to the test because he is seriously impressed by his potential. Conan is hyped, thinking that if he passes, he might just become Londi's apprentice. We see a student use his magic to conjure up a bunch of water spheres. Seeing this takes Conan right back to his first lesson with Miss Jenny, where he learned there are 2 ways to do this. You can either create your own water or manipulate the water that is already around you. Conan focuses up and tries to hijack that student's water spheres. He struggles with it at first, putting in a ton of effort, but slowly, the spheres start pulling toward him. Right then, the Grandmaster calls off the test. Conan only managed to snag 2 of the spheres. But here is the kicker. The student is completely blown away that Conan managed to pull away a single one. Even the Grandmaster praises him. Suddenly, all the students start bickering over whose apprentice Conan should be, but the Grandmaster wants to test him a little more first. Conan gets creative and makes a massive, super stiff bouncy trampoline out of water. The Grandmaster actually starts jumping on it, and soon, everyone wants a turn. Conan points out that he could increase the elasticity even more to launch them all the way to the 2nd floor, but the Grandmaster shuts it down, joking that if they do that, They won't be able to go home today. Then, Princess Rasha asks Conan if he can only make animals with his magic, or if he can make human shapes too. Conan focuses and creates a water doll shaped like Eiko. It isn't perfect since he is still experimenting with making things fly, and it looks a little rough. But the Grandmaster and Rasha want to see it in action, so Conan makes it fly. Unfortunately, it completely freaks out one of the maids. Soon enough, Knight Dario and a bunch of other folks show up to file a complaint, forcing Conan and Rasha to apologize for all the chaos. As the sun goes down, the Grandmaster decides to call it a day, suggesting they talk more about magic over lunch next time. Conan officially passed his exam, and the Grandmaster promises to personally find him a great teacher, which makes Conan incredibly happy. Before they leave, the Grandmaster asks Conan what his ultimate goal is. Conan tells him he wants to use magic to create his own eyeballs. The Grandmaster is impressed and calls it a great goal. Cut to the next scene, and Conan's dad is absolutely furious. He just found out about all the crazy stuff Conan pulled today, and Conan is genuinely terrified. Princess Rasha tries to lighten the mood with a little magic trick, but his dad is dead serious. He lectures Conan, telling him that magic needs to be used carefully, otherwise someone could get hurt. He reminds him that with great power comes great responsibility. Conan sincerely apologizes for messing around. After that, his dad heads home, but Conan stays behind because he has a dinner date with his fiancée at the exact same restaurant where his dad proposed to his mom. To help him get there faster, Princess Rasha creates a massive water sphere for them to ride on. Conan is a little hesitant, saying he shouldn't sit so close to her in case her fiancé gets the wrong idea. Rasha just pulls him in, saying she doesn't have a fiancé, and they take off. They are flying at breakneck speed and reach the capital in no time, but they end up crashing right after. Thanks to the soft water sphere, they are totally fine. They are both laughing, thrilled that their flight experiment actually worked. But their fun is cut short when an angry Knight Dario shows up again. That makes 3 crazy stunts in one day. Meanwhile, Princess Malika is getting ready for their dinner date, nervously wondering if Conan will like her dress. Back to Conan and Rasha, who are currently getting chewed out by Knight Dario. Cut back to Malika, who is getting super anxious since this is their first real date. The second a servant announces that Conan has arrived, Malika tries to play it cool, but immediately sprints over to him. When they meet, Conan turns on the charm, telling her that even though he can't see the moon or her beauty, he knows for a fact the moon doesn't even come close to how beautiful she is. He takes her hand, leaving her maids totally swooning over Master Conan. They head into the restaurant and have a great time chatting over dinner. Conan spills all the details about his crazy day at the Black Tower, mentioning he passed his exam, but still doesn't know who his teacher will be. He compliments the delicious food, while Melitza is just completely lost in his words. Then Conan tells her that right now, planning a nice dinner is the most he can do. But once they are married, he will make sure every single day is as amazing as tonight. The servants nearby practically melt hearing this, and Melitza blushes hard. Later that night, back in her own mansion, she is still blushing just thinking about what he said. The next day, Conan is busy doing some chores when Eiko calls him over for help. He uses his magic to help her wash the laundry. He mentions he needs to go write a report, but Eiko insists that he needs to spend some time outside in the sun too. She explains that he needs the vitamin D so his body can grow big and strong. Conan smirks and says he heard girls are way more into tall guys. Eiko tells him that might be true, but she likes him exactly the way he is, whether he is short, chubby, or tall. Conan plays along, sighing that he really likes her too, but it is a shame he is already engaged to the princess. We then just see the two of them chilling outside together. Meanwhile, the scene shifts over to the Black Tower. We see this guy frantically searching for his senior. As soon as he throws open a door, he finds the room completely trashed. Lying right in the middle of the mess is his senior, Zion. Zion groans and asks if the guy seriously came all the way here just to ruin his sleep. The guy, Victor, tells him that the Grandmaster is calling for him. Back at the estate, Conan gets a letter letting him know that they finally found him a teacher, and his name is Zion. The second Iko hears that, she totally loses her mind. She starts gushing about how Master Zion is incredibly handsome, sweet, and ridiculously popular. Literally every single girl in the Julian kingdom knows who he is. After that, Iko is practically bouncing off the walls, super hyped to finally meet him. Somewhere else we see Princess Rasha tracking down Malika to ask for a huge favor. We find out that if a royal sorcerer wants to leave the palace just to hang out, they actually need direct permission from royalty. Rasha is basically using Malika as an excuse to get a hall pass. Right then, Malika's two older sisters, Avery and Lee, show up. They only came over to throw shade and taunt Malika, bragging about how much better their own fiancés are and calling Malika completely useless. But Princess Rasha is not having it and chases the two of them away. She turns to Milicha and tells her to just ignore them because those two are completely crazy. Back at the mansion, Conan is just kicking back and enjoying his tea, while Iko is still pacing around, way too excited to meet Zion. Out of nowhere, Princess Milika drops by for a visit. Conan immediately turns on the charm, telling her that her surprise visit just made his heart bloom like a beautiful garden, even though he jokes that he has never actually seen a garden before. But Malika didn't come alone. Zion is right there with her. Conan is right in the middle of hyping up the princess with compliments when Zion steps forward. Iko takes one look at him and is internally screaming with joy. As for Conan, he can instantly feel Zion's magical power, and it is absolutely massive. He has never sensed anything even close to this level from any other royal sorcerer. Conan's gut instinct is screaming at him that this guy is definitely meant to be his master. Conan speaks up, saying he knows it is a little early, but asks if he can just go ahead and call him Zion Sensei. Zion completely shuts him down, bluntly saying that he cannot stand children. On top of that, he reminds Conan that he is not officially his teacher yet, and the only reason he is even there is because the Grandmaster told him to come. Knight Dario is also tagging along to act as a bodyguard for Malika and Zion. Conan continues, smoothly saying that he has heard Master Zion is an incredibly magnificent and gorgeous sorcerer. He casually adds that since he is blind, he doesn't actually know what those words mean, but he is pretty sure they are compliments. Zion glares at him and asks if he is mocking him. Conan immediately plays innocent, insisting he would never do that. In the next moment, Conan goes right back to praising Princess Malika. Zion rolls his eyes and tells him to knock off the flirting and actually talk about magic. Zion starts grilling him about compound spells, explaining that compound spells are when you take a magic circle, divide it up, and rearrange the whole thing. Zion asks Conan how many sections he can handle. Conan casually replies that he can comfortably manage 31, but he usually messes up when he tries to push it to 32. Conan is then shocked to find out that Zion can actually reach 50 sections. Zion is completely caught off guard and asks how a kid managed to push past 20 sections. Conan explains that he basically taught himself a lot of it and uses a few little tricks to pull it off. Zion thinks to himself that this kid is seriously talented. It totally makes sense now why Londi Mond and the others were fighting over who gets to be his master, and why Princess Rasha is so obsessed with him. Snapping back to the present, Zion tells Conan to step up and show him what he is working with. He says he needs to see his skills firsthand before he decides whether training him is a solid investment or just a massive waste of time. But Conan flips it on him, saying he would actually love to see just how amazing Zion is first. Conan starts laying the compliments on super thick, praising him non-stop until Zion is practically losing his mind from annoyance. Fed up, Zion uses his magic to summon a solid stone wall right in front of them. He challenges Conan, telling him to see if he can break the wall down. If he pulls it off, great. If not, he can totally forget about Zion ever being his master. But before that, Zion demands to see this famous waterbed trick he has heard so much about. Conan focuses and whips up a bed made entirely of water. The thing is so incredibly plush and soft that the second Zion lays down on it, he passes out cold. While Zion is knocked out, Conan starts thoroughly inspecting the stone wall he created. It turns out a magic crest acts as a magic circle, and a caster rearranges different magic circles to cast various spells. A compound magic circle is basically a spell where the circle is divided over and then rebuilt, which is also referred to as magic math. While intensely analyzing the wall, Conan turns to Princess Malika and suggests they just hang out and talk for a bit. While sipping on some tea, he tells her they should probably just wait for Master Zion to wake up naturally. Evening rolls around before Zion finally opens his eyes. He groggily asks how long he has been asleep, and Dario informs him he was out cold for 2 hours. Zion smirks, turns to Conan, and asks if the kid is ready to throw in the towel. But Conan just smiles back and confidently says he hasn't given up yet. Conan immediately gets to work. He uses his magic to conjure up those same soapy bubbles he used to help Eco with the laundry, and sends them over to completely swarm Zion's solid stone wall. Within moments, the bubbles eat right through the rock, turning the entire wall into a pile of dust. Zion is genuinely impressed. He looks at Conan and admits that the kid is seriously smart. He points out that Conan actually understood the underlying magic circles, figured out how to divide them, and even grasped the reconstruction process. Zion gives him his props, officially declaring Conan Gurin as his brand new student. He playfully adds that Conan is now the luckiest kid on the planet because he gets to have Zion as his master. Conan grabs Princess Malika's hand with a huge smile and says that now that he has his beautiful princess and an amazing master, he does not need anything else in the world. Zion gets serious for a second and lays down the ground rules. He tells Conan that since he is officially his apprentice, the kid needs to understand how this relationship works. Zion will teach him the ropes, but in exchange, Conan has to help him out with his magical experiments. Zion then turns his attention to Princess Malika and asks her what her game plan is. He bluntly tells her that since Conan is now his student, the kid is going to level up rapidly and reach an entirely different league. Zion claims Conan is going to become the kind of guy that girls will literally line up around the block just to look at. He challenges the princess, asking what she brings to the table. Hearing this hits Malika hard. She quietly thinks to herself that Zion is completely right. Compared to Conan's insane potential, she feels like she has nothing to offer. She realizes that if she does not step up and improve herself, they might not end up together in the long run. Conan quickly steps in to defend her. He respectfully asks his master to stop talking to the princess that way. Conan says he knows Zion gets a kick out of teasing girls, but it really is not cool. He casually roasts Zion, saying he understands the guy has zero game and no clue how to talk to women, but that does not give him a free pass to be rude. Hearing his new apprentice call him out like that completely gets under Zion's skin, and he gets super annoyed. Later on, we see Princess Malika back at her own estate, deep in thought. She is absolutely determined to figure out a way to better herself. The scene then shifts back to the guys. Zion is in the middle of teaching Conan all about highly classified state secrets. Because this information is strictly confidential, Princess Malika and the rest of the entourage have to wait outside in the hallway. The second the door clicks shut, Zion immediately makes Conan conjure up one of those ultra-comfortable waterbeds and promptly passes out on it. Meanwhile, out in the hall, Princess Malika opens up to Eco. She reveals that she recently took up swordsmanship and has been practicing her fencing skills every single second she gets some free time. We then see her actively sparring and practicing her sword fighting stances with Knight Dario. The truth is, Malika is working incredibly hard to make herself a worthy partner for Conan, but she is keeping the whole swordsmanship thing a total secret from him. By the time Zion finally wakes up from his nap, Conan has already blitzed through half of the classified documents. Conan looks up and drops some real wisdom on his master. He explains that knowledge and information are two entirely different beasts. Simply reading something gives you information, but truly understanding that material and figuring out how to apply it in the real world is what turns it into actual knowledge. He adds that a person's true power lies in their knowledge. Zion is actually blown away by how insightful the kid is. When it is finally time to pack it up for the day, Conan asks Zion about a specific, complicated diagram he spotted buried in the documents. Zion hesitates, thinking it might be a little too early to dive into that level of magic, and tells Conan to just bring it up next time. Before heading home, Conan spends a long time having a super sweet romantic conversation with the princess. In the following scene, Conan heads over to Tower 170 to meet up with Zion. But the second he walks through the doors, he finds Lady Rasha and a bunch of other people actively arguing over who gets to train with him that day. Zion suddenly walks in, shuts the whole argument down by declaring Conan is his apprentice, and tells the kid to follow him. When the group tries to block their path and keep Conan there, Zion simply orders Conan to whip up a bunch of those cozy waterbeds, successfully putting the entire crowd to sleep so they can escape. Once they are alone, Zion starts explaining the concept of magic tools. He tells Conan that these tools are specifically designed to significantly boost a sorcerer's natural power, and they are crafted by highly skilled magical engineers. Zion then leads Conan into his personal workshop. The room is an absolute disaster zone, completely trashed and cluttered, but to Conan, it is an absolute goldmine of magical knowledge. Zion pulls out a magic tool to show his apprentice. It turns out this is the exact same contraption from the diagram Conan was asking about the other day. Zion explains that the device is still a work in progress, but once he gets it fully operational, it will be able to heat up food on demand. Basically, the guy is trying to invent a magical microwave. Zion reminds Conan that from here on out, it is his job to help get these experiments across the finish line. Right then, the Grandmaster walks into the room. She is thrilled to see Conan and suggests they all grab some lunch to discuss the magic they are working on. But in classic Zion fashion, the very next scene shows that he managed to put her to sleep too. With the Grandmaster knocked out, the two of them get right back to brainstorming their experiment. Eventually, they do sit down for a real lunch. While they are eating, Victor leans over to Conan and whispers that if he ever gets sick of Zion and wants to switch teachers, he should not hesitate to ask. But Conan immediately starts gushing about Zion, telling everyone that his master is absolutely incredible and that the two of them have already formed a super tight bond. Hearing this completely catches everyone off guard. Zion gets super embarrassed and irritated, snapping at Conan to just shut his mouth for heaven's sake. Through Lady Rasha, Conan also gets a quick update on Princess Malika. He finds out she has officially reached her senior year, which means she is diving straight into her higher education classes. The Grandmaster then brings up a massive opportunity, heavily recommending that Conan enroll in a prestigious magic academy. It is a legendary school where the most gifted students from all over the globe gather to study advanced magic. There is just one catch. You have to be at least 12 years old to get in. That means Conan still has some time to kill before he is eligible. The story then hits us with a 2-year time jump. We catch up with Conan and Zion right in the middle of an intense sparring match. Zion launches a heavy attack, but Conan effortlessly deflects the strike using his fluid water magic. Later on, the two of them are grabbing a bite to eat, and we get a little business update. It turns out that magical microwave box Zion was working on is completely finished and is currently making a killing on the open market. Since Conan helped out, he demands his fair cut of the profits, leading to a hilarious back-and-forth argument over the cash. Through their banter, it becomes obvious just how much Conan has leveled up his skills over the past 2 years. They are actually right in the middle of developing a brand new magic tool, but Zion tells him he is going to finish the rest of the project solo. Zion points out that Conan is about to turn 12, meaning it is finally time for him to pack his bags and get ready for the Magic Academy. Conan is seriously dragging his feet on the idea. He tells Zion he does not want to leave and would rather just stay and keep learning directly from him. Zion tries to talk some sense into the kid. He explains that his own natural attribute is earth magic, which means there is a hard limit on what he can actually teach someone who uses water magic. Zion urges Conan to look at the bigger picture, telling him that if he heads to the academy, he is guaranteed to find a top-tier master who specializes in water magic and can help him reach his full potential. Even with that logic, Conan is still struggling to make the call. Princess Malika steps in, gently holding his hand. She looks at him and says he absolutely needs to go because he has so much incredible talent, promising that she will be right there waiting for him when he gets back. Her words are all the push he needs, and Conan finally agrees to enroll. As Zion and Princess Malika are heading out, Conan stops his master and asks what kind of preparations he needs to make before leaving for the academy. Zion just looks at him and says that Conan already knows exactly what he needs to do, reminding the boy that he has his own unique way of seeing things. The second they leave, Conan rushes straight to his room, pulls out some paper to write a letter, and says to himself that there is no way he could ever forget to do this. Conan suddenly realizes that everything he has been working so hard for was all tied to his ultimate dream of seeing the world, a goal he had almost pushed to the back of his mind. Meanwhile, Princess Malika is completely heartbroken and crying her eyes out. She is terrified that once Conan leaves for the Magic Academy, he might meet a girl who is way better than her and forget all about her. Deep down, Malika just wants him to stay by her side forever. Dario tells them everyone's head and heart get tangled up sometimes, but you just have to look for the right way out. She points out that Zion is way too soft on his apprentice, bragging about how strictly she trains her own students. She then asks Zion if he honestly believes Conan can actually create working eyes out of pure magic. Zion casually shrugs and admits he has never heard of anyone pulling it off before, but he has total faith in his kid. After all, Conan is his favorite student. Back at the estate, Conan is grinding away. He uses his magic to create several mirror-like water spheres, hoping to reflect the world around him. But he quickly realizes that simply reflecting light off water will not transmit the actual images to his brain. He spends the entire night experimenting with different techniques, but completely strikes out. Feeling frustrated, Conan heads over to wake up his older brother Ishu and suggests they hit the bathhouse to relax. Ishu is totally down and suggests they invite their dad. Their dad then chimes in and says they should bring Mom along too. Fast forward, and the whole family is chilling together in a steamy sauna, sipping on their favorite drinks. Conan finally vents his frustrations, admitting that he has run a ton of experiments but still cannot figure out how to craft his own eyeballs. Ishu reassures him, telling him not to stress and that he will figure it out eventually. The whole family rallies around him, promising that they have his back no matter what. The next day at dinner, Conan looks around and is just overwhelmed by how incredibly supportive and loving his family is. Later, he meets up with Princess Malika and takes a trip to the tower. Deep down, his biggest wish is just to finally see all their faces. Conan decides to give the eyeball project one more serious shot. He gathers all the information he has learned, pieces together every little trick and spell he knows, and goes all out. And then it actually happens. For the very first time in his life, his eyes open to the world. He can actually see. He is so overwhelmed with happiness that he practically bursts into tears. The magic water spheres he created are linked directly to his brain, acting as fully functional eyes. But just as he is taking it all in, he turns around and spots a massive, terrifying crab hovering right behind him. Before he can even process what is happening, Iko walks into the room. Conan accidentally brushes his hand against the giant crab and realizes it is completely transparent, acting almost like a holographic projection. He then looks over and sees Iko for the very first time. When she realizes he can finally see, she bursts into happy tears and pulls him into a massive hug, saying they need to tell his dad immediately. But as Conan looks at her, he notices a weird magical horn sticking right out of her head. He thinks to himself that she looks incredibly cute with her sweet face and the little horn, though he keeps that part quiet. It turns out Iko cannot see the horn at all, and she definitely cannot see the giant crab hanging out behind him. Conan steps outside to check out his beautiful garden, but the world looks completely insane to him. He sees a pitch-black sun in the sky and feels freezing winds swirling around. Everything is totally warped. Iko follows him out, and he asks if she sees anything bizarre behind him, but she is completely oblivious to the giant crab that is literally stalking him everywhere he goes. Soon enough, the rest of the family gets the news that Conan can see. His mom is sobbing tears of joy. However, both of his parents look completely bizarre to him, although in Conan's eyes, they actually look super cool. Trying to make sense of it all, Conan asks Iko if people with wings actually exist in this world. Iko misses the point entirely and goes off on a long poetic tangent about how everyone is born with the wings of freedom to reach the heights of the sky and blah blah blah. Conan is just standing there, more confused than ever. When his dad walks up, Conan wonders if he is going to have horns or wings too. Instead, his dad looks like some kind of otherworldly glowing entity. Unaware of Conan's trippy vision, his dad is over the moon and declares that they need to send a message to the emperor immediately to share the good news, sparking talks of a massive celebration. Conan is getting seriously stressed out by all these crazy hallucinations and decides he needs to talk to his master about it right away. Meanwhile, over at the Sorcerer Tower, Zion is busy working when Victor drops by. Victor relays a message from the Grandmaster, letting Zion know that the Emperor has officially granted him a few days of vacation time. The next day, Princess Malika rushes over to visit Conan. She is absolutely thrilled that he can finally see and excitedly asks him to look at her with his new magic eyes. Conan eagerly looks at her. For a split second, she looks completely normal and breathtakingly beautiful. But the very next second, a delicate feather appears right on her head. Conan smiles and tells her she is even more gorgeous than he ever imagined, comparing her to a beautiful bird with a stunning feather. Just then, Knight Dario walks in to greet them. Conan looks at Dario and sees a literal sword floating right above the knight's head, which Conan thinks looks incredibly badass. But when Zion finally shows up, things get even weirder. Conan cannot even make out Zion's face. All he sees is a blinding, radiant light. Conan squints and asks if that is really his master, because he cannot even look at him right now due to the intense glowing. He tries his hardest to focus, but the light is just too bright. Eventually, Conan sits Zion down and explains all the bizarre, trippy things he has been seeing. Zion finds the whole situation hilarious and bursts out laughing. Annoyed and confused, Conan looks at him and asks what is going to happen to him when he actually marries the princess. Conan complains to Zion about his crazy visions. He tells him that everywhere he goes, he is stuck with this giant crab following him around, and the princess literally has a feather on her head. Zion strokes his chin and says that maybe everything he is seeing actually means something. When Conan mentions that Zion is glowing super bright, Zion just smirks and says he has always been the bright type. Conan shoots back that he is glowing so blindingly bright that he cannot even look in his direction. Zion then breaks it down, saying there are two real possibilities here. The first is that Conan might actually be seeing the physical shapes of people's souls. The second is that he could be dealing with a case of magic sickness, which is causing some intense hallucinations. Zion explains that certain places can mess with a person's magical power base. He admits he actually experienced something similar once. After downing way too much booze in a dark forest one night, he started seeing all sorts of bizarre things. Zion admits he cannot guarantee anything, but suggests that the more Conan observes these things, the better they might understand what is going on. Conan starts second-guessing himself, wondering if his water eyeballs are just a totally failed experiment. Zion immediately shuts that down, telling him that he is his student, and there is no way he would make a mistake like that. Zion advises that there are a ton of things in this world that humans just do not understand, but just because we do not get them does not mean they do not exist. He tells Conan to keep these weird visions a total secret and to try and find some sort of pattern in what he is seeing. Conan thanks his master for the solid advice. As evening rolls around, we see Princess Malika hanging out with Iko. Malika mentions that Conan's 12th birthday is coming up real soon and asks what kind of gift would actually make him happy. Iko smiles and tells her that honestly, he would be thrilled with literally anything she gives him. Hearing that makes Malika blush hard. Right then, Zion wanders in and asks what the two of them are whispering about. They quickly brush him off, saying it is strictly girl talk. The very next day, we see Conan deep cleaning and reorganizing his entire room, freeing up a ton of space. The scene then jumps to his 12th birthday party. Everyone is clapping and cheering as they hand him his gifts. His mom gives him a really nice feather pen. while Ishu gifts him a fancy box of gourmet snacks, probably because he had zero clue what else to buy for a 12-year-old kid. His mom suddenly gets super emotional, tearing up because Conan is about to leave for a magic academy that is incredibly far away. His dad steps in to comfort her, and they all go back to celebrating. The whole place is just filled with a really happy, exciting vibe. Later on, Princess Melita and Conan get some time alone to talk. She tells him that she actually has school on the exact day he leaves, so she will not be able to come see him off. Conan tells her not to worry about it at all. Melita then hands over her birthday gift, a beautiful high-quality bracelet that matches the exact one she is currently wearing. They promise each other that they will write letters constantly and wait for one another while he is away. Finally, the big day arrives for Conan to pack up and head to the Magic Academy. His family is absolutely heartbroken, thinking Conan is going to be just as devastated about leaving them for such a long time. But instead, Conan just quietly hops into the carriage with Iko right behind him. As the carriage starts rolling away, he casually waves out the window and yells that he will see them in 2, 3, or maybe 5 years. They all wave back, watching him go. As they hit the road, Conan is already lost in thought, wondering what kind of crazy sorcerers he is going to run into at this new school. We get a quick glimpse of some other students, including some very pretty girls, who are definitely on their way to the exact same Magic Academy. 5 days into the road trip, we learn that this academy is completely out in the middle of nowhere. It is going to take them about a whole month just to get there. But pretty soon, they will be making a pit stop at Conan's grandfather's estate, which is where Iko will finally say her goodbyes. The reality is, Iko needs to settle down, get married, and move on with her life. If she puts it off any longer, she will completely pass her prime marrying age. Conan whines, asking how he is supposed to survive without her. She jokes back that if he is really taking it that hard, he could always just ditch the princess and marry her instead. Conan is completely speechless. Soon enough, they pull up to his grandfather's massive mansion. Conan has not been here in about 4 years. Back then, he literally threatened his dad, saying he would throw a massive tantrum if they did not bring him here, so he could read through his grandfather's massive library of magic books. He reunites with his grandpa, but through Conan's magic eyes, the old man has these bizarre, terrifying horns sticking out of his head, making him look like some kind of ultimate demon lord. His grandpa is super hyped and promises to buy him absolutely anything he needs for school. Right on cue, Iko hands the grandpa a letter from Conan's mom. The letter lays down a strict rule. The grandpa is not allowed to spend more than $60 on the kid. But honestly, the old man completely ignores the letter anyway. This is also the spot where Conan officially meets his brand new maid, the girl taking over for Iko. Her name is Riko. She is 18 years old, and she only took the job because the salary is seriously good. It turns out she is actually Iko's younger sister, and she is already engaged to her fiancé. The two of them promised each other they would save up enough cash to open their own store, which is why she is hustling as a maid. Naturally, since they are sisters, they look super alike. And yes, through Conan's eyes, Riko has those exact same weird horns on her head too. We then see Iko in the kitchen, cooking up a storm while giving Riko the complete rundown on exactly what Conan likes to eat. She is teaching her everything there is to know about his habits. This sparks a little flashback to the day Conan's dad originally hired Iko. She remembers meeting Conan for the very first time, cooking for him, and having to patiently explain what basic foods like bread, potatoes, and cabbage were. She was also the one who taught him how to dress so sharply. Iko thinks back to how incredibly sad Conan looked the first time she mentioned she would have to leave him one day, because she cares about him so much. Iko gives her little sister a very strict warning. She tells Riko she better take amazing care of him and absolutely forbids her from putting any stupid ideas into his head because he is a really sweet kid. Iko is low-key, terrified that Conan might turn into a total player and try to build a harem. She insists that Princess Melissa is the only girl Conan should ever be intimate with, period. Riko just laughs and points out that Master Conan is incredibly sweet, especially to girls, and he is always throwing out compliments. Rico boldly claims that with his smooth behavior, she is absolutely certain he is going to become a massive player one day. Hearing her sister say that out loud makes Iko completely lose her mind and freak out. "Oh, stop talking nonsense," Iko snaps. After that, Conan just enjoys his meal, complimenting the delicious food. The next day, it is finally time for them to hit the road. Conan looks at Iko and says, "Hey, do you remember what I told you back when Lady Flora and Miss Jenny left me? I told you that if you ever left me too, I would be completely heartbroken. Right now, other than you, I am miles away from literally everyone I care about. My mom, my dad, my brother Ishu, Princess Malicha, my friends, and my master. And in just a few minutes, I am going to be far away from you too. Like, really, really far away. Am I ever going to get to see you again?" She smiles gently and replies, "Yes, absolutely. Once you come back from the Magic Academy, you have to come visit my house. By then, I will probably be married and might even be a mom." The two of them share a tight hug and finally say their emotional goodbyes. Then, it is officially time to leave. Watching Conan go hits his grandpa hard, and the old man is literally left standing there in tears. After that, Conan turns to Rico and thanks her for tagging along on this journey with him. As they hit the road, the two of them start chatting. Conan asks her what kind of store she actually wants to open. Rico tells him that she will probably open up a restaurant because she absolutely loves eating. And just like that, Conan's brand new adventure officially begins. Eventually, they roll into a town that is just a short distance away from their final destination, Darshik. While walking through the town, a bookstore catches Conan's eye. He heads inside and realizes they are selling actual magic grimoires. But there is a huge catch. Conan cannot afford to buy a single one of them because they are ridiculously expensive. Buying one would leave him completely broke. Right then, they meet the shop's receptionist. The second this girl finds out that Conan can actually use magic, she insists that he show her a spell. Conan indulges her and uses his magic to whip up a tiny water creation. We find out that this girl is absolutely obsessed with learning, reading, and talking about magic. She then drops some serious gossip, telling Conan that this year, the actual saint of the Holy Kingdom is enrolling at the Magic Academy. Listening to her talk, it becomes pretty clear that the Magic Academy is packed with some seriously elite, high-status people. After that, the receptionist shows Conan a second-hand grimoire that belonged to a super popular sorcerer, which turns out to be Zion. She tells him that if he wants to buy it, she will hook him up with a special discount, but Conan passes on it. When they step back outside, Rico is confused and asks him why he didn't buy the book. Conan just smirks and says, "I already know exactly what is inside that grimoire anyway. There is nothing new for me to learn." Cut to the next scene, and they are browsing a clothing store. Conan is feeling the fabrics to check their quality, while Rico is over in the corner, trying on a bunch of different hats and just goofing around. Suddenly, Conan speaks up, saying he really loves a specific piece of fabric. By touching it, he is actually memorizing its exact texture. The shop owner proudly explains that the fabric is made from genuine black fox fur. Without missing a beat, Conan uses his magic to literally recreate a perfect replica of a black fox. The shop owner is left completely speechless. The owner stammers, asking, "Wait, can you really reproduce anything just by memorizing its texture? Could you use that magic to make a woman?" Hearing that completely sets Rico off. She absolutely loses her mind, starts yelling at the creepy shop owner, and drags Conan right out of the store. As it turns out, the poor shop owner was just nursing a crush on some girl and let his excitement get the better of him, saying way too much out loud. Right after Conan leaves, a group of 3 people walks into the shop. The girl in the middle speaks up, saying she heard they have a rare item made from a black fox and wants to see it. But the moment she touches the magical fox Conan created, the spell immediately breaks, and it just collapses into a puddle of water. The group immediately starts analyzing the leftover water by touching it, which honestly looks a little weird and inappropriate. Finally, our hero makes it to Darshik, the town where the Magic Academy is located. After that brutally long road trip, he has officially arrived. The plan was for Conan to live in one of the school's dormitories after enrolling. But when they check in at the front desk, they get hit with some bad news. The dorms are completely booked solid. Finding out there is no room left is a massive blow for both of them. Meanwhile, back at the Sorcerer Tower, Zion makes a dramatic superhero-style entrance by literally crashing right through a window. He looks at the Grandmaster and tells her he came all the way there to have a serious talk about his favorite apprentice. Cut back to Conan and Rico, who are trying to figure out their next move. Conan pitches an idea. How about we just rent a small house and live together? Right then, a girl hands them a pamphlet with information on available rental houses, which is standard protocol for students who do not secure a spot in the dorms. Before long, the two of them successfully rent a nice little house for themselves. Somewhere else, the scene cuts to a dark, shadowy room. We see one guy handing another guy a complete list of every single student who enrolled at the Magic Academy this year. Scanning the paperwork, they realize that Zion's personal apprentice is on the list, and they finally learn his name. The next day, Conan and Rico head over to the Magic Academy, but quickly find out that nobody except official students and special faculty is allowed past the gates. Because of that rule, a woman named Bluebell has to escort Conan inside. True to his charming personality, Conan immediately starts showering her with compliments. Once inside, we spot that same group of 3 students from the shop earlier. Their eyes immediately lock onto Conan. Conan notices them too, and through his magical vision, he sees an intense, glowing light radiating off the girl. He walks straight up to her and asks, "You are the saint of the Holy Kingdom, aren't you? You are incredible. Your magic attribute is light, right? I have heard so much about light magic. Would you please answer a few questions for me?" She bluntly replies, "No," Conan begs, practically pleading, "Please, I will even buy you some chocolate." She coldly looks at him and asks, "What do I possibly gain from answering your questions?" She arrogantly adds that light magic is completely superior to every other type of magic. We learn that her name is Reese, and she seriously lacks basic human emotions, which means she ends up insulting people constantly without even realizing it. It turns out she also bears the hero's scar, just like Conan. Hearing that, Conan gets even more hyped and says, "That means you are even more amazing than I thought. I am absolutely certain it was fate that brought us together today." But right at that moment, their teachers arrive. The main instructor is Professor Soft, and the woman beside him is Miss, who acts as his teaching assistant. Professor Soft steps up and congratulates the 4 of them on successfully enrolling in the Magic Academy. This essentially means there isn't going to be some brutal entrance exam to decide who passes and who fails. They are already officially in. Sorcerers who actually possess a crest are incredibly rare. The reason these 4 students were called together today is to take a special placement test. Darshik Magic Academy offers 3 different tracks. First is the fundamental level, which basically covers the entry-level basics of magic. Second is the teacher-assisted level, which runs a lot like a standard high school curriculum. Then there is the 3rd level, which is super advanced and focuses on independent research. Students in this track aren't stuck in a regular classroom. They have the freedom to do whatever they want and decide for themselves whether they want to practice existing magical skills or invent entirely new spells. Securing a spot in this advanced 3rd level is brutally difficult since it is strictly reserved for the absolute top-tier students. The only reason these 4 kids even got their foot in the door is because they scored massive recommendations from either their elite masters or their home countries. The practical skills test kicks off, and the students have to step up one by one to demonstrate their specific crest attribute. First up is a guy named Hand. He rocks a 2-star fire crest and can currently cast 7 different spells. He decides to go big and shows off his absolute best move, conjuring up a massive blazing circle of fire. Next in line is a kid named Priahos, who specializes in wind magic and can cast 8 different spells. Fun fact, Professor Soft also uses a wind crest. After making sure everyone steps back to a safe distance, Priahos unleashes an intermediate-level wind spell that packs a seriously strong punch. Then it is Reese's turn. She holds a rare 3-star light attribute and can cast 5 different spells. She steps up and fires off an incredibly fast blinding light spell. Finally, it is Conan's time to shine. He casually steps up and announces that he has a 2-star water attribute, but he can only cast 2 spells, and both of them are just basic elementary level moves. Hearing this, Professor Soft pauses and asks Conan if he is aware of the massive recommendations he received. The professor reveals that he actually got 2 separate letters pulling strings for Conan. The first one came directly from the Grandmaster of the Royal Sorcerers, and the second one was handwritten by Conan's personal master, Zion. The second the other kids hear that Conan is the personal apprentice of the legendary Zion, they are completely shell-shocked. The professor goes on to explain that according to the letter, Zion explicitly requested that Conan be given the hardest possible exam, because the kid is insanely capable. Conan just shrugs and says that if that is what his master wants, he is totally cool with it. But right then, the teaching assistant, Miss Sifi, makes a completely disgusted face. She glares at Conan and snaps that he acts exactly like Zion, walking around acting like he is God's gift to the world. It is glaringly obvious that she has some serious unresolved beef with Zion from back in the day. Because of her grudge, Sifi decides they are going to hit Conan with the absolute toughest task they can possibly throw at him. Right before the test starts, Conan looks over at Reese with a cocky grin and tells her to watch closely because he is about to put on a serious show. Professor Soft steps up and casts a heavy-duty wind barrier, which is a solid intermediate-level defensive spell, and challenges Conan to try and break through it. Everyone in the room is thinking the exact same thing. There is zero chance this kid's 2 basic entry-level spells are even going to leave a scratch on that shield. But Conan just smirks and says he honestly thought they were going to give him an actual challenge. He channels his magic and starts conjuring up a bunch of soapy water bubbles. He rapidly multiplies them over and over until there is a massive swarm of them, and then alters their properties to create a thick, impenetrable colored fog that completely surrounds the professor's shield. Conan casually looks at the professor and mentions that he can keep this exact spell running flawlessly for 2 straight days. He then drops the mic, asking the professor what is going to happen the second his wind barrier hits its time limit and collapses, because the moment it does, Conan's magic is going to completely swallow him up. Professor Soft immediately gets it. He realizes Conan is incredibly smart and utilized his magic perfectly in this scenario, so he officially declares Conan the winner. Even though she really does not want to, Miss Sifi is forced to pass him. Right at that moment, another woman walks into the area and completely panics when she sees the red fog, totally mistaking it for blood. Once the dust settles and everyone is back in the classroom, Conan goes right back to ignoring everyone else in the room just to focus entirely on Reese. He is super fascinated by her light magic and tries to chat her up, but she completely brushes him off. They are told that the next phase of the exam is a one-on-one interview. Conan sighs dramatically, telling Reese that it looks like he won't be able to talk to her until the interviews are over. He jokes about how much it hurts to be separated, but says there is nothing he can do about it. Miss Sifi then grabs the fire magic kid, hand, and pulls him away to start the interviews. When Conan finds out that failing this interview means getting kicked out and sent packing right back home, he turns to Reese again. He tells her he definitely does not want to leave her so soon and that he is determined to end up in the exact same class as her. But before he can keep rambling, it is Reese's turn, and she heads off for her interview. While they wait, Professor Soft turns to Conan and asks him point blank if he had a backup plan ready, just in case that bubble attack hadn't worked on the wind barrier. Conan casually admits that yeah, his plan B was to just hit the professor with a direct attack. After chatting a bit more, Conan explains that in his eyes, water is the absolute best magical attribute. He openly admits that it might not be the strongest right now, considering he still cannot beat his own master, but leveling up and getting stronger is exactly why he enrolled in this academy in the first place. Eventually, Miss Sifi returns and escorts Conan down the hall, bringing him to a specific room and telling him to head inside. Conan walks into the room, but it is pitch black. He cannot see a single thing in the darkness, nor can he detect any magical presence. Suddenly, a voice rings out from the shadows, a character we have briefly seen before. The voice says she honestly never thought a guy like Zion would ever actually take on an apprentice. She tells Conan she assumed Zion must have found some incredibly rare prodigy, but instead, it looks like he just picked up a total player who cannot stop flirting with the saint. Conan immediately gets defensive, swearing that it was not like that and he just wanted to pick Rhys's brain about magic. As they talk, it becomes obvious that the voice belongs to an old woman. But since Conan is the way he is, the second he realizes he is talking to a woman, he cannot resist throwing out a few smooth, flirtatious lines anyway. Conan wraps up by telling her that he actually learned a lot today. The old woman sighs, tells him he is free to go, and officially assigns him to the advanced class. She gives him a strict warning, saying he is going to have to hustle and work insanely hard just to keep his spot there. She is right in the middle of saying something else, but Conan completely tunes her out and casually walks right out the door. Left alone, the old woman mutters to herself that this kid is absolutely nothing like Zion. She remembers that back in the day, when she offered to personally teach Zion, he was absolutely thrilled. But this kid could not care less. After that, the old woman and all her magical reflections vanish into thin air. Meanwhile, Professor Soft is busy reading the recommendation letter Zion sent him. The letter boldly states that Zion's student is incredibly capable and will probably surpass Professor Soft in just a few years. Zion arrogantly added that obviously the kid will never be as good as him, but he asked Soft not to be too hard on Conan, since he is still just a young kid. After a long first day of classes, Conan finally walks out of the academy in the evening. Riko is outside waiting for him, and it turns out she spent the entire time stuffing her face with strawberries and cake. Watching Conan leave, Professor Soft murmurs to himself that he is absolutely certain this kid is going to become the greatest sorcerer of all time. Back in that dark room, the old woman is still baffled, wondering how on earth Conan managed to use a spell she had never even seen before. She is secretly referring to his magical water eyes. In the next scene, Conan's parents receive a letter back home, letting them know everything is going great, and that Master Conan officially secured a spot in the highest tier class. The letter mentions that the school faculty seems to think Conan is a bit of a troublemaker, but defends him by saying he really isn't like that. Reading this, his dad immediately gets annoyed because he knows his son all too well. The kid is an absolute flirt. The scene then cuts back to the Magic Academy, where a very serious meeting is taking place. A massive rule is dropped on the advanced class. None of the students are allowed to receive a single dime from their families for living expenses. It is a strict academy rule that advanced students must get jobs and earn their own money to survive. Hearing this, Rhys speaks up, visibly annoyed. She argues that she came here to study magic, not to hunt for a part-time job just to pay her bills. Professor Soft steps in to clarify the situation, explaining that this strict rule exists for a very specific reason. Since the advanced class is the absolute top tier of the academy, the faculty expects these elite students to know how to hustle and earn their own keep. In the following scene, we get a look at just how bad the financial situation is for the saint. It turns out Rhys has some insanely high living expenses, burning through roughly $180,000 every single month. A huge chunk of that cash goes straight to paying her personal maid's salaries, leaving her completely stressed out about how she is supposed to generate that kind of money on her own. We also learn a few more details about how the advanced track operates. Every student in this tier is assigned their own personal laboratory space, but there is a major catch. They have to buy all their own equipment, materials, and supplies completely out of pocket. On top of that, if they fail to earn enough academic credits within a set time limit, they will be instantly demoted down to the second-level class. And the only way to actually rack up those academic credits is by pulling off significant real-world achievements. Conan chimes in, saying that he wants to dive into the magic industry and work in the field, just like his master. He casually complains that he actually helped Zion invent a few successful products back in the day, but his cheapskate master never gave him a single dime of the profits. Conan then turns to Reese and asks what her game plan is for making money, but she completely ignores him. Cut to the next scene, and Conan is moping around. He is lying on one of his giant water spheres, feeling totally bummed out because the saint will not give him the time of day. Rico steps up, taking on the role of his personal life coach. She gives him a serious lecture about respecting women's boundaries, explaining that if a girl clearly does not want to talk to him, he needs to back off and stop forcing the issue. Honestly, Rico is just trying her best to mold Conan into a proper gentleman because her older sister, Iko, stuffed his head full of absolute nonsense over the years. Meanwhile, Reese is sitting with her two maids, feeling completely overwhelmed. Her financial backing from the kingdom has been completely cut off, and due to some strict ethical guidelines, she is legally forbidden from using her healing magic to make a profit. The next day at school, Reese is still pacing around, pulling her hair out, trying to figure out how she is going to come up with $180,000. But then, she catches wind of a rumor. Conan has already launched a startup business, and it is absolutely blowing up. We see Conan running his new service, and his schedule is completely packed. In fact, his slots fill up so fast that he is forced to put a bunch of customers on a wait list. Professor Soft wanders over, completely bewildered, and asks Conan what kind of crazy business he is running that is pulling in so much profit right out of the gate. We finally get to see Conan's genius business model. He is catering to the incredibly stressed-out academy students who have not had a decent night's sleep in years due to the heavy academic workload. He charges them cash to take a nap on his ultra-plush, insanely comfortable magical waterbeds so they can finally get some peaceful rest. Conan proudly brags to the professor that even his master Zion was completely knocked out by how comfortable these waterbeds are. Of course, the second Miss Sifi hears Zion's name, her face immediately scrunches up in total disgust. We also find out that Conan and Zion spent countless days and nights grinding away and constantly experimenting together, which is exactly how Conan perfected this spell. Professor Soft is so impressed by the whole operation that he immediately approves Conan's request for official laboratory space. He then tells Conan to hurry up and make this nap service available for the exhausted professors too. Soon enough, both students and faculty are completely hooked, lining up to enjoy the waterbeds and singing Conan's praises. Business is absolutely booming. We even see a girl show up to pay for a full 60-minute nap session, followed by a couple of other girls waiting for their turn. Meanwhile, the saint's life is just getting progressively worse. She is practically going broke, and the professors have actually advised her to go swallow her pride and ask Conan for some business consulting. Initially, she stubbornly refuses to have anything to do with the flirtatious Conan, but with her back against the wall, she does not have a choice. The very next day, Reese reluctantly approaches him. Conan flashes a reassuring smile and tells her not to worry at all. He promises that, as a true gentleman, he will do absolutely everything in his power to help her out of this mess. But before they get started, he asks her to go grab Miss Sifi and bring her into the room. It turns out Conan finally learned a valuable lesson. He should never hang out alone with a girl in a private room. Otherwise, it might spark some crazy rumors and cause a massive scandal. Once Miss Sifi arrives to chaperone, Conan gets straight to business. He looks at Reese and asks, "So, you are in desperate need of a way to make some serious money, right?" Conan tells Reese, "Look, you have healing magic. You could easily use that to make a ton of money." But the saint quickly shuts him down, explaining that she was blessed with this power specifically to help others, and it goes completely against her principles to use it just for personal profit. Conan pauses to think for a second before pitching his next idea. "Okay, what about purification magic? You can use that, right? What if we team up, create some new magic tools together, and sell them on the market?" Miss Sifi immediately steps in with a warning. "You need to think this through very carefully. If a magic tool becomes a massive hit, it could spark a huge legal battle over the creation rights, and the two of you could end up fighting over the profits." Conan casually waves off her concern, assuring them that won't be an issue, because he will let Reese hold the primary rights to whatever they invent. He turns to the saint and asks, "So, what do you say?" With her back against the wall, Reese finally agrees to the partnership. After making the deal, the group heads over to meet Professor Surya. It turns out she is also completely obsessed with Conan's magical waterbeds, and she happens to be an expert in light magic. The plan is for Conan and Rhys to conduct their new experiment under her strict supervision. Professor Surya hands Conan a pouch containing the seeds of Sheila. These are incredibly rare miraculous seeds that can only sprout and grow in the Holy Land. For context, the Holy Land is a specific region that is deeply imbued with holy and purification magic. Conan pitches his big idea. They are going to artificially recreate the environment of the Holy Land right there in the lab. To pull this off, they need Rhys to cast the Holy Sanctum spell, which generates a massive holy barrier that perfectly mimics the exact conditions of the Holy Land. Rhys focuses and successfully casts the spell, creating a glowing protective barrier. Almost immediately, the Sheila seeds they planted start sprouting into tiny plants. This means they actually figured out a way to mass-produce the incredibly rare Sheila herb. Watching this, Rhys finally realizes that Conan was genuinely interested in her unique magic from the very beginning, and he wasn't just creeping on her. But right as she is having this revelation, Conan turns to her and smoothly asks, "So, are we grabbing tea or lunch after this?" Okay, so the guy was definitely still flirting. It turns out that any medicine crafted from the Sheila herb is ridiculously expensive and highly sought after. If their experiment works, making $1.5 million will be an absolute piece of cake. Conan smirks and asks Rhys, "So, are you finally impressed by me?" She flatly replies, "No." We also find out that Conan secretly dropped a cool $1 million out of his own pocket just to buy those initial seeds for the experiment. Miss Sifi pulls Rhys aside and tells her that Conan is actually a really good guy with a great heart. Hearing that, Rhys officially apologizes to Conan for misjudging him so harshly. In classic Conan fashion, he smiles and says, "A beautiful girl like you shouldn't be apologizing. It just doesn't suit you." A short time later, the Sheila flowers are fully bloomed and ready to go. The group gets straight to work, grinding, mixing, and brewing everything together until their new medicine is finally complete. They take the final product to an appraiser, who thoroughly inspects it and confirms that it is an authentic medicine made from genuine Sheila herbs. He estimates the street value to be somewhere between $1.5 to $2 million. It turns out the saint didn't need $15 million. She only needed $1.5 million to cover her expenses, so they completely hit their goal. To celebrate, the whole crew goes out for an incredible massive feast, with Conan footing the entire bill. Everything is going great until the check arrives, and we find out the girls managed to eat over $220,000 worth of food. The craziest part is that Rhys's two maids ate the absolute most. They were stuffing their faces like they had been starving for a decade. Later on, Conan meets up with his other classmates, Hand and Priahos, who are also begging him for some business advice. Conan laughs and says, "Honestly, if you two were cute girls, I would do absolutely everything in my power to help you out. But whatever, if you guys help me out with a project, I will give you the advice you need." Meanwhile, the scene cuts to those three girls from earlier, who are currently lounging on Conan's magical waterbeds. Looking at them, you'd think they were best friends, but that is a total joke. The truth is, all three of them are at the academy with their own hidden agendas. Back to Conan and the guys. Conan assigns them their jobs. Hand, I need you to use your fire magic to cook up some perfectly roasted meat for me. Priahos, I need you to use your wind magic to help me fly. In exchange for their labor, Conan promises to pay them and give them the business advice they asked for. The next day, Conan heads to Professor Soft's office to pitch his latest product idea. He pulls out a bizarre, hairless, magical rat. He explains that students can hold the soft, plush rat while they sleep, and its texture is so soothing that it guarantees a perfect night's rest. After Conan leaves, the professor just shakes his head and admits the kid is an absolute genius when it comes to making money. Thanks to Conan's advice, all of his classmates are also pulling in serious cash now. But right then, those three mysterious girls walk into the professor's office looking for Conan. At the same time, Conan is out in the courtyard actively promoting his new products to a crowd of customers. He glances over and notices that Hand is seriously struggling to control his fire magic and keep the meat roasting properly. Conan excuses himself and walks over to give him some pointers. Meanwhile, we see those three girls splitting up, searching all over the academy, trying to track Conan down. Meanwhile, Conan gives Hand some solid advice, telling him that he needs to be patient and cook the meat thoroughly over a slow, low heat instead of rushing it. On the flip side, Priahos is trying his hardest to launch himself into the air using his wind magic. He loses control and almost takes a nasty fall, but Conan quickly uses his own magic to catch him and save him from crashing. Since Hand totally botched his cooking attempt and the meat is half raw, they are in a tough spot. They cannot afford to just throw it away, so they decide to just suck it up and eat it to save some cash. Just then, they spot Reese walking by. The four of them end up sitting down together to eat Hand's poorly cooked meat, which honestly tastes absolutely terrible. We then cut back to those three girls who have been searching all over campus for Conan without any luck. Conan finally shows up in the courtyard to check on his customers, and the girls immediately rush over to him. However, since they completely cut the line, they are forced to go straight to the back and wait their turn like everyone else. When they finally get to the front, instead of actually talking business with him, they get completely distracted by his brand new sleeping product. They decide to test it out and end up instantly falling asleep on the spot. Hand goes back to work strictly following Conan's cooking advice to get better results. We also see Priahos, who is doing way better and is finally starting to get a solid grip on his wind abilities. Elsewhere, Miss Sifi is closely observing Reese as she works. Reese turns to her and asks the big question. Why are they actually being forced to use their magic to make money in the first place? Miss Sifi breaks it down for her, explaining that all of these kids grew up incredibly privileged, living totally sheltered, luxurious lives. Because of that, they have no idea that the real world is way more dangerous and ruthless than it seems. Out there, anyone will take advantage of them in a heartbeat. The faculty wants to make absolutely sure that these elite students know how to survive and fend for themselves no matter what happens. Miss Sefi then asks if any of the academy's factions have reached out to recruit them yet, but Reese says nobody has approached them so far. We are then introduced to the leaders of the different student factions. It turns out these three leaders are the exact same people who sent those three girls to recruit Conan earlier. We learn that factions are basically exclusive fraternities or clubs created by the students in the advanced class. The top three most powerful factions on campus are Ability, Harmony, and Unity. These groups hold so much power and influence that even the professors do not dare interfere with their business. Conan daydreams that if he joins one of these factions, he might get the chance to team up and run magic experiments with a bunch of cute girls. The group starts brainstorming about which faction they should actually join. Meanwhile, we check back in with those three scout girls, one by one. Each of them is awkwardly reporting back to their respective faction leaders, admitting that they totally failed their mission to recruit Conan because they accidentally fell asleep on the job. Frustrated by the failure, the three faction leaders decide to take matters into their own hands. They all step out to personally track down Conan and talk to him face to face, because every single one of them is absolutely desperate to recruit Zion's one and only apprentice into their ranks. Cutting back to the boys, Hand has not really made much progress and is still seriously struggling to cook the meat properly. Priahos, on the other hand, is slowly but surely improving. We get a little backstory on Priahos. He was born into a wealthy baron's family out in the countryside, where he was easily the absolute best sorcerer in his entire village. But after arriving at the Magic Academy, reality hit him hard, and he is finally realizing that there are countless sorcerers out there who are way out of his league. Conan is sitting nearby, playing the role of a coach. He is taking detailed notes on exactly how many times Priahos manages to fly, and how many times he completely wipes out during his practice runs. Suddenly, a massive explosion goes off right next door. It turns out those three faction leaders have crossed paths and are literally about to brawl. They decide that whoever wins the fight gets first dibs on talking to Conan, and they do not waste a second before blasting each other with their magic attacks. Completely ignoring the chaos outside, Conan is busy giving Hand a pep talk. He tells him that if his current method is not working, he needs to pivot and try a different approach, emphasizing that he should never stop trying to improve himself. Just then, Professor Soft walks in, dragging another professor who looks like a total zombie because he has not slept in days due to his crazy experiments. They urgently need Conan's sleeping service, so Conan heads out to help the exhausted professor, leaving Hand behind. Hand takes Conan's advice to heart and decides to get creative, figuring out a completely new way to channel his fire magic. But right as he is making a breakthrough, a random guy walks up to him and asks if he wants to join the Harmony faction. On the other hand, Priahos is completely wiping out while practicing his magic. A girl walks over and gives him a solid tip, telling him he needs to actually understand the flow of the wind and rise naturally with it instead of fighting against it. In the next scene, they all sit down to eat, and the food is actually way better this time around. Hand has seriously leveled up his cooking skills. After that, they take the perfectly cooked meat straight to the cafeteria to sell it, and the staff happily buys it off them without a second thought. We also find out that once Priahos masters his flying ability, he can easily launch his own high-speed courier service to make some serious cash. But then Priahos drops some news. He officially got a recruitment offer to join the Rationality faction. Hand chimes in, saying he snagged an invite from the Harmony faction, while Reese got an offer straight from the Ability faction. Conan is literally the only one who has not received a single offer yet. The reason? The leaders of those three factions are still busy fighting each other over him. The leader of the Ability faction ends up putting on the best performance in the brawl, which means he earns the right to talk to Conan first. The Harmony faction gets second dibs, and the Rationality faction is dead last. The leader of the Ability faction, Bile, decides to play it smart. He specifically calls up the most gorgeous girl in his group because everyone on campus already knows that Conan is a massive flirt who will do pretty much anything for a pretty face. So this girl is sent on a mission to completely charm Conan into joining their crew. Cut to the next scene, and we see Conan busy writing a letter to Princess Malicha. He has officially been at the academy for a whole month now, and he is pouring his heart out, filling her in on every single crazy thing that has happened to him so far. The following day, while he is just going about his business, that gorgeous girl walks right up to him. Her name is Eliza, and she is representing the Ability faction. She asks if he wants to join their group, and Conan immediately flashes a grin. He smoothly tells her there is absolutely no way he could ever say no to a girl as beautiful and sweet as her. After Eliza leaves, Conan gets right back to work, but it is not long before another stunning girl approaches him. Her name is Alva, and she is the recruiter for the Harmony faction. She also asks him to join their ranks. Conan doesn't even hesitate. He looks at her and says she is way too beautiful to be asking questions. She should just be giving him orders instead. Once she walks away, Priahos looks at Conan like he is crazy. He points out that Conan just agreed to join two rival factions at the exact same time and asks how on earth he plans to pull that off. Before Conan can even answer, a third beautiful girl walks up. She is from the Rationality faction and asks him to join her crew. But in a massive plot twist, Conan completely ignores her and just casually walks away. Priahos is completely baffled. He asks Conan why he instantly said yes to the first two girls but totally blew off the third one when she was just as pretty. Conan smirks and says he would gladly do anything for a girl, but only for actual girls. It turns out that the third girl was actually a dude in disguise. However, a little while later, a real girl from the Rationality faction shows up, and Conan immediately caves, agreeing to join their group too. When Priahos realizes that Conan just successfully committed to all three factions, he literally facepalms, stressing out over the absolute chaos that is about to go down. Meanwhile, over at the Ability faction headquarters, they are throwing a massive celebration because they think they successfully recruited Conan. In the middle of the party, there is this incredibly weird guy who looks like he has not slept in years. He ends up sharing some crucial information with the faction leader, Bile. Right then, a squad from the Rationality faction crashes the party, led by their boss, Gaines. There is also this incredibly angry girl with them who acts totally feral, like she just crawled out of the wilderness. A bunch of pointless bickering breaks out between the groups. Gaines is just about to make a huge announcement to shut everyone up, but before he can even get the words out, the leader of the Harmony faction unexpectedly shows up to join the drama. When Bile finally finds out that Conan literally promised to join all three factions, he is completely dumbfounded. The factions piece together the timeline, realizing that Conan completely rejected the cross-dressing guy from the Rationality faction, but instantly signed up the second, a real girl, asked him. After realizing they have all been played, the three faction leaders collectively decide to put their differences aside for a minute and go confront Conan face to face to sort out this absolute mess. The scene then shifts all the way back to the capital, where we catch up with Princess Malika. She is fully decked out in heavy warrior armor and is literally staring down a massive, terrifying bear. She has grown incredibly brave since we last saw her. The bear lunges at her, knocking her sword right out of her hands with a heavy strike. Luckily, her older brother swoops in at the exact right second to save her. We find out that Prince Line actually runs his own elite combat squad, and he is the captain calling the shots. Later, when Princess Malika finally heads back to the palace, she gets the news that a letter from Conan just arrived. She is absolutely ecstatic and immediately rips it open to start reading. But as she reads through his updates, her excitement totally drops. She is completely shocked and visibly upset to find out that Conan has already made a close female friend at the academy. He is obviously talking about Reese, and Princess Malika is seriously not thrilled about it. Cut back to Conan, who is just finishing up his breakfast and getting ready for classes. As he walks through the academy halls, he talks perfectly normally to all the guys. But the second a woman is involved, he falls right back into his old shameless flirting habits. Honestly, the guy does not discriminate at all. It doesn't matter if he is talking to a young girl, an older woman, or a literal grandma. He lays on the charm, regardless. The moment Conan steps into the main building, Hand and Priahos run up to him in a total panic. They tell him he needs to hide immediately because the leaders of the top three factions are aggressively hunting him down. But it is way too late. Out of nowhere, the recruiter girls from all three factions corner him at the exact same time. So the ultimate question is, who is Conan actually going to go with? After finishing their meal, all the girls are just standing there waiting. They are plastering on fake smiles to hide how incredibly ticked off they actually are. Hand and Priahos can totally feel the tension in the air, but Reese and Conan are just chilling and chatting like everything is perfectly normal. Seeing Conan act so relaxed and completely unbothered is making the girls even more furious. Eventually, Conan leaves with them, and the girls escort him straight to their respective faction leaders. All three bosses are already there, waiting for him to arrive. The moment Conan walks in, he uses his magical vision and immediately sees the distinct, crazy aura radiating off each leader. The leader named Bile has this massive, weird black ball hovering near him. The second guy is surrounded by a literal aura of trees, plants, and blooming flowers. And the female leader actually has dark, rumbling storm clouds hovering right over her head. True to form, the second Conan sees the pretty female leader, his brain totally short-circuits. He instantly turns on the charm and starts aggressively flirting with her. Watching this absolute nonsense, Sandra from the Rationality faction gets insanely mad. She starts yelling at him, but Gaines quickly steps in and calms her down. Honestly, Conan is so distracted by the female leader that he is completely ignoring the other two guys. As they are leaving to sit down, Conan suddenly notices a bizarre aura around Gaines. Through his magic vision, he sees a literal, terrifying witch clinging onto the guy's back. Seeing that completely freaks Conan out. The three leaders sit down at a table with Conan, while everyone else remains standing around them. But even while he is sitting there, Conan cannot stop thinking about that creepy witch aura, realizing it looked way more dangerous than even Rico's horns. The female leader asks him point-blank which faction he is going to join. Conan smoothly replies that he would absolutely love to join her group, but his hands are tied. He explains that several incredibly gorgeous girls recruited him for different factions, making it completely impossible for him to choose just one. So, he casually pitches an insane idea. What if he just joins all three factions at the exact same time? Hearing that drops the jaws of all three leaders. The female leader stares at him and asks if he genuinely thinks he is worthy enough to juggle all three factions simultaneously. Conan smirks and says he has no idea, but for a beautiful girl like her, he is willing to do absolutely whatever it takes to prove he is worthy. The leaders agree to give him a shot and tell Conan he has to prove his skills in combat to show he actually deserves to join all three. Soon enough, the news spreads like wildfire across the entire campus. Everyone is talking about how a first-year student, who also happens to be Zion's one and only apprentice, is trying to join the top three factions all at once. A massive crowd gathers to watch the spectacle because everyone is dying to see what this kid is actually capable of. We then see them all gathering at an arena, and it is revealed that Conan has to face off against all of the recruiter girls. As for Conan, he is just completely chill. All the girls step up to the plate, except for the blonde one, since that is actually the dude in disguise. They all line up, ready to take Conan down, and Conan steps into the ring to face them. Through some background chatter in the crowd, we learn that Sandra is easily the most dangerous one in the group. She is incredibly powerful, so much so that she often loses complete control of her own strength. However, Conan's friends are already completely confident that he is going to win. Before the fight kicks off, Miss Sephi sets up heavy protective barriers around all the participants to make sure nobody gets seriously injured. Meanwhile, the girls start bickering amongst themselves because every single one of them wants the honor of fighting Conan first. Conan chuckles and tells them they really do not need to fight over him. The girls immediately snap back, telling him they aren't fighting for him. They are fighting because of him. Unfazed, Conan casually suggests that they should just all attack him at the exact same time. The entire crowd gasps, completely shocked by his arrogance. Elsewhere, Professor Soft is busy relaying all this information to the old woman, who turns out to be the Academy's headmaster. Back in the arena, the girls are absolutely seething at Conan's attitude. They are furious that he actually thinks he can take all of them on single-handedly. Miss Sephi officially signals the start of the match. All the girls hold their ground, waiting for Conan to make the first move. Without hesitating, Conan prepares to cast his spell. Conan immediately gets to work, conjuring up a massive amount of soapy bubbles. He multiplies them rapidly until they form a dense cloud, and as they multiply, they completely change color. If you remember, this is the exact same trick he pulled on Professor Soft during his placement test. Suddenly, a bizarre, overwhelming scent fills the air and clings to the girls. Out of nowhere, Conan manipulates the moisture in the air to make it rain inside the arena. The rainwater mixes with the colored smoke, turning it into a thick, sticky red liquid that completely covers the girls. The mixture is so heavy and adhesive that they cannot move a single inch, forcing them to completely surrender. Just like that, Conan secures the win. Because he technically never launched a direct offensive attack, his sneaky spell completely bypassed Miss Sephi's protective barriers. The three faction leaders are left completely speechless by his raw, out-of-the-box talent. Once the match is officially called, Conan dispels the sticky red mess and hands the girls spheres of warm water so they can wash up and get warm. Sandra is absolutely furious and storms off in a massive rage, while the blonde cross-dressing guy literally runs out of the arena crying. After the dust settles, Hand and Priahos run up to Conan, begging to know what that sticky red liquid actually was. Conan completely ignores his boys, refusing to say a single word. But the second the pretty female leader walks up and asks him the exact same question, he instantly starts spilling all his secrets like a parrot. Honestly, the guy has completely broken the scale when it comes to being a total simp. Conan happily answers all of her questions, explaining that he learned how to manipulate and understand complex magical properties by training directly under his master, Zion. Hearing his explanation, the three faction leaders finally agree to the insane proposal. They officially grant him joint membership, meaning Conan is now a proud member of all three top-tier factions. But there is a catch. Gaines leans over and whispers something into the female leader's ear. She turns back to Conan and tells him that since he completely humiliated the seniors in front of the entire academy, he has to go personally apologize to every single one of them. Conan nods, saying he has absolutely no problem apologizing to the girls, but he hesitates when it comes to saying sorry to the blonde guy. That is when they drop a massive bombshell on him. The blonde cross-dressing guy actually possesses the heart of a maiden. Basically, his soul and personality are considered incredibly pure and feminine, supposedly even more so than actual girls. Later on, Conan is deep in thought about this whole revelation. His friends walk up and start hyping him up for his epic win, but Conan is actually stressing out. He mutters to himself that he is not a true gentleman at all, and wonders how he will ever be able to look Princess Malika in the eye again after all his shameless flirting. Meanwhile, we cut over to Princess Malika back at the capital. After a ton of grueling training, she is finally taking her official combat exam in the Knight department. She steps into the ring to spar with a tough male opponent. Everyone in the crowd assumes she is going to get completely wrecked, but she unleashes her skills and absolutely dominates, winning the duel. We know exactly why she is pushing herself to these extreme limits. She desperately wants to become strong enough to stand as an equal beside Conan. Back at the rental house, Conan receives a letter from the princess. While he is reading it, Rico walks in to call him down for dinner. Out of nowhere, Conan looks up and asks her if she has ever tried to cut herself with a knife. Rico looks at him like he has totally lost his mind and asks why on earth he is talking so crazy. Conan just brushes it off, saying everything is totally fine. The very next day, Conan writes a reply to Princess Malika. He congratulates her on officially becoming a knight and practically begs her to please take good care of herself because he worries about her safety. That night, we see both of them staring up at the moon from miles apart, deeply missing each other. Looking at the moon, Conan softly says out loud, wondering if she misses him as much as he misses her, because she is on his mind every single day. When Princess Malika receives his letter, she is absolutely overjoyed reading the first half. But her smile instantly drops when she gets to the part where Conan casually mentions that he has made a bunch of new female friends at the academy. He even writes about how he met someone with the heart of a maiden and wants to spend time getting to know her better. So much for being a true gentleman. Our boy is just an absolute unapologetic player. Cut to the next day, and Conan is back on his grind, running his highly profitable magical waterbed business. Suddenly, an entire swarm of girls surrounds him. Every single one of them is trying to drag him away for some different task, club activity, or experiment. Sandra even shows up, demanding a serious rematch. Hand and Priahos are just standing in the background, watching the absolute chaos unfold. Right then, Reese pushes through the massive crowd, grabs Conan by the arm, and tells him to hurry up because they need to go brew some more of that lucrative Sheila medicine. Meanwhile, Professor Soft is sitting in the headmaster's office, giving the old woman a full report on everything Conan has been up to. The headmaster just sighs and points out that the kid is exactly like Zion, running around the academy doing whatever the heck he wants. Finally, the season wraps up with an epic shot of Conan standing on the deck of a massive ship, setting sail on a brand new adventure with the Rationality faction. And that officially wraps up this incredible journey. Now I know what you guys are thinking. Yes, it has been a hot minute since I dropped a video, and I sincerely apologize for the massive delay. The truth is, my entire editing setup completely fried itself a few weeks ago. I literally had to rebuild my rig from scratch and recover all my files just to bring you guys this absolute banger of a story. But the good news is I am fully back and the setup is running smoother than ever. If you loved following Conan's crazy magical adventures and want to be the first to know where his journey takes him next, you have to smash that subscribe button. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload, and drop a comment down below telling me what your absolute favorite moment from this story was. Thank you guys so much for the patience and support, and I will catch you in the next video.